Glad we can spend this time together here on this Tuesday. And today I'd like to go to the Psalms, the Psalm of David. David, of course, experienced many trials in his life. Certainly he faced opposition. Wicked people were against him. And almost from the beginning of his ministry, he was on the run. And yet, through all of this, David learned the heart of God and learned the protection and the miraculous intervention of God. One of the things that always causes me to just marvel is that how Satan attacks and then God turns it to good. The greatest example of that, of course, is the cross. Satan thought he won a victory. In fact, that's when he was defeated. If the princes of this world had known, they would not have crucified Christ, the Bible says. And so we can be encouraged, like David, that we have a God that'll help us. And he says in verse 1 of Psalm 61, "Hear my cry, O God, attend unto my prayer. From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee." Now here's what I want you to get. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. When my heart is overwhelmed. Now let's face it. We can know truth. We can be encouraged on one day and see God work, but then there will be a series of circumstances or news that we hear that just seems to flood over our soul. The word overwhelmed is so good. You just seem to be plunged into a set of emotions that you just can't work your way out of. And he says to the Lord, lead me to the rock, God himself that is higher than I. And it's a shelter for me. It's a strong tower, he says in verse 3. And I'll abide in the tabernacle. I will trust in the covert of thy wings. In other words, when I get overwhelmed, Lord, lift me up and cause me to understand my relationship with you and cause me to be lifted up into that perspective so that I am no longer controlled by my emotions or my circumstances, but instead I am in relationship with you and in fellowship with you so that I can navigate what's going on from a divine perspective. And he'll do it. You see, the minute you're in fellowship with God, you're sensing his presence, you're okay. You are surrounded by the love of God. You sense his protection. Your heart is comforted and you're okay. So I'd go to Psalm 61, and just claim that prayer every time you find circumstances really discouraging you and overwhelming you. There is a rock that's higher than you. There is a place of shelter. There are wings that will lift you up. God will not let you down if you're his own child. And this is an opportunity for us through dark days to show what a great God we have. May God help us look to him and cry out for that kind of deliverance.